They'd rather have the community here than walls that keep the community out. And so to answer your question and land this spirit thing, creating that space of belonging really does create that space for individuality, that space for community, space for the outside to reflect the inside. And thank you for the question.
Nice, I love that. Yeah, I think thinking about inclusion and belonging, I think I love seeing these flags. That's a great start. I love seeing the flag with all the different colors. That's really important as well. Going beyond that, I think, like I mentioned, something that really just makes you feel belongers, me, I can say, is that active engagement. So I can give an example, mentioning individuality. I think that's so important as well. Fashion, I really like fashion. And to me, fashion is a part of how you present yourself to the world. And so, for example, on one of, or a couple of my soccer teams, we would just discuss different types of clothing and how we would like to present ourselves to the world, whether it's a little bit more mask-centered type of clothing. We would share clothing, and having that type of engagement and, again, active discussion, to me, allows for that space of belonging. And I'll say as well, at the end of the day, really at the beginning of the day, it's all about treat others how you want to be treated as well. I don't think there needs to be a big difference between how you would want to approach or talk to someone else versus someone in the LGBTQ plus community, right? Treat everyone how you want to be treated at the end of the day.
Absolutely, yes. My turn. So I will say I need help with fashion. So I will definitely take your help. So as far as being included, I was telling my panel friends, I guess now, that I am a token gay person in a straight soccer league. And so to be included, I just played this morning, and I felt included when my friends asked me to be a part of the team because they knew who I was. They knew my authentic self. The other teams didn't, and they do now. And so it's a matter of feeling, I'll say, not the love, but not only included, but accepted. So I will say that that's pretty big for me. How do I know I'm accepted? Is when we got married and quite a few of the people from my team showed up. Now there was one or two that didn't show up, and that's okay. They need to get to that same space. And it took a few years, and they're there. But it's because of people like us and people like you that really put your foot out there and really make a difference. So the other thing is, I will say, as far as inclusion, the company I work for, and I won't say them because it could potentially be a DEI issue politically. So who knows who watches our podcast here. So, but they are so inclusive and accepting. And if you go into our space in the DC area, you will see flags and stickers that say safe space. So you can go and have conversations with people, which wouldn't have happened 10, 15 years ago.
Awesome. You guys all shared so much great stuff, and I changed my answer like 4 times. So,
Give us all 4.
Yeah, I mean, for real. I try to think about inclusion and belonging, and for me, I hope this doesn't come off wrong, but I don't really care if people want to include me or they think I belong. I mean, it's just not a typical answer, but I just don't, right? I feel like I create the space that matters to me. I bring the people in who want to be around me, and I think that my love life is like the least amazing thing about me, right? Like, okay, my wife is hot, very awesome. I don't do too bad myself, so like whatever. But like, I don't think it matters, right? And like when I introduce her, I introduce my daughter, okay, right? Like this is my family, but like we're individually really trying to do our best. We're trying to be great people, and if you like it, great. If you don't like it, okay. And if you want to come, don't come. I don't really care, right? But I hopefully the energy that I'm exuding and the things I can try to help and whatever you're trying to do is strong enough that makes you want to be around me. And so now we're inclusive and we're belonging, right? But if you don't want to, then I don't have enough time here, or I don't know how much time I have to spend trying to make you want to be in my world. And I think that for me, it's just I've lost a lot coming up, and I grew up in Philadelphia, and you can make that look like however you want it to. So I just don't really have the energy to land there. So it's just so important for me to create those spaces in whatever I'm doing, and anything that anyone comes to, they know they belong, they know they're inclusive, and I also don't tolerate it either. And so if there is an opportunity in the locker room that happens, or there's something that happens in the court and fans get too far, I will stop the game and address it immediately because it's not appropriate. We're not doing that. Well, not on my game. And I don't care what you did last game. I don't care who you're playing. Okay? Frankly, you can leave. And I won't put the ball back in play until you stop. Right? So, like, I don't have that in my world, and I also don't allow that in the world that I'm in because I think it's important to protect everyone, especially our youth. Especially young women who I officiate, especially for them because they're trying to figure out what the hell they're trying to do. And everyone doesn't have it figured out. We're all just trying to figure it out. So who are you to say she's too big or why does she look like a man? We're not doing any of that. If you want to cheer for your team and you're protective about your team and your color and your whatever mascot, I don't care, right? But as soon as you cross the line of her sexuality or how she looks or how tall she is, we're not doing that. We're absolutely not doing that, and I'm not leaving until it stops, right? And so for me, I feel like I belong because I belong in whatever room I'm in. I'm inclusive because I love anyone who has respect for themselves and respect for others. And if you don't allow to that, I don't want you in my world or in the world that I'm also in. And so for me, I think that, I was telling these guys, my job has forced me to really learn myself like in depth because I'm always in high pressure situations. I'm always in very uncomfortable situations. I'm always having to give bad news to someone. And I'm not liked immediately as soon as I put the jersey on. I know today you guys like me, but like normally I am not well liked. And so I already kind of come in knowing what the scenario is. And so for me, I just don't have the space to kind of deal with the BS because it's not appropriate for certain scenarios. In some scenarios, it's just the way that it goes. And so, I just think it's important to really just have that internal belief in yourself and what you're willing to deal with and what's okay. And I think we all understand right and wrong. We all can see someone's eye change if they feel uncomfortable. Like, and I challenge my friends who are white, who are straight, stand in those moments, right? There's some things that I say, it's not going to be able to be communicated that way. How can you help me? Stand in that moment and address it. If it's not coming through, you do it. You say it, right? Because I'm saying it and it's not being heard. So how can you help me? You see the pain in my eyes, you see the uncomfortableness, do the same thing. If something were to happen to you, I would do the same thing. But in this particular realm, I cannot do that, right? And so for me, anyone who's in my world, in my circle, I challenge them to stand in the space and own their way, whether they're straight, gay, whatever they identify as. But if you're gonna be in this world with me and you're gonna rock out with me, we have to all do our part to allow those places to be belonging and inclusive.
And so many beautiful pieces of that too, which is also disturbing the fact that we're people.
Yeah.
Right? We are whole people. Whenever I introduce myself, I say that I'm a person of queer and trans experience. And I use that person first language because yes, my queer and my trans identities are central to who I am and how I understand the world and navigate. And I'm so many other amazing things. I love to travel. I'm a cat dad. I'm all these lovely different things. I was like, wow, I want people to know me as my whole self and not just my identities and off of those assumptions. And you're like, yeah, I have a wife, okay, and like, this is my life.
Yes.
Being able to, for a lack of better words, quote, be normal, that's like what it is. Like, we just want to be able to go out and live our lives and exist, but we don't have that luxury or that privilege right now without our allies and people doing the work to not tolerate when something unacceptable is happening, so that when there is silence in regards to any negative event, that silence is saying that that behavior is okay here. And so silence can also never be accepted. And so hearing your story here, like, in my space, this is the expectation, and this is what is allowed and is not allowed. And so at the very least, the players that have you, they know I'm safer with you, which they may not have with other referees. And so that is a beautiful call to action, which is the fact that every single one of us, whether it's athletics or work or our families, we have a responsibility to do something. We have a responsibility to act. We have a responsibility to get uncomfortable. We have the responsibility to, especially for our allies who are cis, to stand up for trans athletes. It is so important right now to be aware of the fact that our non-binary, trans, and gender diverse athletes need us, right? As I'm sure that we are all well aware, there is a, quote, debate on trans athletes. It's not a debate, it is a fight for equal and equitable access to athletic spaces, and it's not even just about athletics. It is, what is a trans person's place in society under the guise of athletics, and trying to remove our personhood and our humanity through athletic spaces. And so being able to, as allies on this panel, and knowing the importance of feeling the acceptance in spaces, pushing it a step further, which is what are we doing not only to make sure that our queer and sexuality community members feel loved and accepted, but there has to be more intentional work done for our trans folks. Otherwise, we are not only left behind, but we are being hurt. So truly that call to action, which is that wherever you are, if you hear something, of course, take your safety, mental, emotional, physical in mind. If you hear something and you have the ability to say something or to enlist your allies in action, if it's not the right role for you, do something. Create that space, like Denise was saying. The space didn't exist, or you're not hearing people talking about inclusion in athletics or trans athletes, start that conversation. As a trans athlete myself in college, I identified as non-binary. For 6 years, used they, them pronouns. We know that the athletic world is very binary, just as most of our world. I had no idea where to go or what to do. But I knew that I was Lex. My pronouns were they, them. And I could have been happy on a women's team had my teammates used affirming language, so remove gender and use my name and my pronouns, but they were not able to cultivate that inclusive space for me. And so not only were we not at inclusion, but I absolutely did not feel like I belonged. And so in that, I made the decision to take up the space and to say, you know what? I don't care if you want me here or not. I deserve to be here. I can beat members of the men's team, and I'm injured, so here we go. And I was like, there's no reason for you to not let me on this team. And I had to be very strategic because I had a feeling that my coach would not be supportive, and I was not letting anyone get in my way. So I went right to the athletic director, wrote a letter, said, I'm eligible, here you go. If you choose to not support me in this, it's called transphobia, and I will find another avenue to be able to do this work, and I will be able to access this space, because no one should ever have to choose between being their authentic self and being a part of the sport that they love. And that is not a choice. That is not a choice, and that's the experience of so many of our trans athletes right now. And I'm so grateful to have been so persistent and resilient. Resiliency is such a beautiful power tool that we have in our community, and it's allowed us to be where we are. And so clearly we have overcome many different things to be able to be sitting on this panel here today. So when we're thinking about that resilience from ourselves, like, do you have a specific, whether it's a quote or a mantra, maybe even a role model, or I'm a visual person, so I have a lot of different imagery that helps me to really land in that resiliency. But because the unfortunate truth is that there's so much hurt right now out in the world when it comes to inclusion in athletic spaces, outside of athletics. So what can we do to boost our own resilience, remind us why we're here, and then also support the next generation, support anyone that's in these spaces that maybe doesn't feel like they belong or they don't have that inclusive space that absolutely deserve to be there. So resilience is a huge part of our personhood. What does that mean for y'all?
Thanks, Lex. I'll follow that up very eloquently. Okay. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the word resilience because it implies that I have to do the work that someone else is not. And so the way I kind of view it is, I'm just going to control what I can control. What's on my side of the street is on my side of the street. And while I understand the world doesn't exactly work that way in all contexts, that's what keeps me comfort. And like what you said previously, Lex, how can we prevent this for the next generation? If it doesn't stop with me, at least maybe I can slow it down for the next generation or the next generation of athletes, etc. So I hate saying the word resilient because again, it's someone else doing the work and I gotta clean it up. But if I can at least make it a little bit better for the next person, make it a little bit better for the younger person, I'll absolutely do that.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I think I'm also thinking about building our spaces as we were discussing. I think that's what brings me a lot of joy, a lot of comfort, and a lot of opportunity to sort of reset and regroup and go back out into this crazy world, right? So definitely creating those spaces as much as you can. We talked about chosen family. I think that's really important so that you can, refresh and reground yourself to go back into the world. And I like what you said, kind of slow down, the discomfort for the next generation. I also like a quote. One of my favorite quotes is, it's longer, but the gist is, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And I really resonate with that. I think it kind of goes back to, like I was saying, finding that comfort and joy and confidence within yourself, and then you're able to go out into the world and do better.
Again, I'm learning so much today, being a senior person. And I do want to go back to a story of how I came out. And because it talks a little bit about resilience, sorry, Denise, but it also talks about giving people the opportunity where sometimes we don't. And so I was outed back in 2001. My family didn't know. Nobody really knew. They say they didn't know. And straight soccer team up in Northeast Philadelphia. Somebody was reffing. They said, "Oh yeah, he just went to the London tournament with the gay team in Philadelphia." The next morning, I got a call from one of my very good friends, straight guy, and he said, "Here's the rumor I just heard." And I was then confronted with, what do I do? Do I say yes or do I say no? And that was the first time I could be honest. And I said, yes, I am. And that's what I said. I never gave my friends the opportunity to either accept me and be inclusive of my whole authentic self, or just keep saying no, keep denying it. So I said yes. And man, did my heart just dropped to my stomach. And then a few others called during that day. And I'm like, now what do I do? Now I got to tell my parents. I have to get to my parents before they find out. 9/11 happened the next day. I had a little bit of time because nobody cared about my sexuality, right? So I had a little bit of time before I had to get to my parents. But when I got to my parents, they were so wonderful and amazing, like your parents. I cannot imagine years ago that my parents would be sitting there, and they were. They backed me. But I never gave them that opportunity. And so the resilience of my family and friends, and I will say not all family. I was living with a family member and they kicked me out. So there's a long way to go. I will say we've come a long way. But baby, we got a long way to go. So thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Man, these took resilience out, so
Right.
what's a synonym?
Let me get my
Right? Man, okay. Well, I do like resilience a little bit. I just think, when I'm trying to do something that I've never done, or I'm trying to do something that hasn't been done, or I'm trying to continue a journey that's already being begun, I think to myself, why not us? right? Like, why not us? Why not anyone in this room? Whatever you want to do, whatever you're aspiring to do, why not you, right? God has already given you all the tools of who you are, your stature, your complexion, and your walk of life, and your journey, etc., to be prepared for whatever came to your mind and your heart to do, right? So why not you, right? The biggest thing that normally gets in our way is ourselves, right? And you already have everything that you need right there in your lap. Everything that we need personally, we'll be able to accomplish because we've already had it, right? Or we learned it as we're doing today, learning so much about one another. As you continue to learn and be open to those things, you already have what you need. So when I think of resilience, it's just getting out of your own way, right? And recognizing that your power is already within you. And once you kind of walk through that and you own that, now just go and do it, right? Go and execute. I try to tell my 11-year-old all the time, like, love is a verb. Love is an action, right? You have to do it, right? You think about wanting to do things, you have to execute. It's really, really great to have great ideas, but you remember the people who actually finish the job, right? And you may not actually get exactly what you're looking for, but you might fall amongst the stars, right? And then if you don't get it, you might get something even better, right? Maybe you get a better experience because that's what you're actually supposed to get. But the actual execution of let me try to get to this thing is part of the beauty of the process, right? And without you going through that process, you won't be prepared for the second thing. And so the resilience part is to not get into your way and not have that fear stop you and not think maybe I'm not enough. You are enough. You're actually probably more than enough because you're already going through things that other people haven't done and they haven't gone through in the way that you have. And so that makes you that much more different. Your individuality, your authenticity is what makes you you, and that's what makes you special and able to do whatever those things are that you have inside of yourself to do. So, for me, resilience, when I think like, why not me? Shit, I'm gonna give it a try. If I screw up, at least I can say I tried, right? And that in itself is a story and encouragement. So.
Thank you for sharing, everyone. One of the quotes that always comes to mind for resilience for me is, they tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. And the image that comes from that, too, it's like, look at that beautiful thing that came out of absolutely no one trying to support us, but we somehow made it. And also, I love that not all of us necessarily resonate with resilience. I think that's super important. This is a part of the conversation. And it makes it even that much stronger because it is so true. There's no reason why we would need to be resilient. I would love to be in a world where I don't have to be resilient in order to survive and to thrive. Right? Like that's how we know we made it. Where we just get to exist. We're at a time and a place in history where if people aren't going to carry that weight, then we're making that space and we're demanding it. And hopefully we have our enlisted allies in action. We have our chosen family that help us boost that resilience. And it also comes back to how are we taking care of ourselves in that process? Because this may take a little bit of time. So how do we have that patience, that grace for ourselves and make sure that we're filling our own cups so that we don't get burnt out in doing this work and being able to show up? And resilience is that. It is also self-care. It is having the self-love and the awareness to recognize what is my capacity? How much do I have to give to others? And how much do I have to give to myself? And honoring that. Because that's how we get through the day today. There unfortunately will always be something that is left for us to do. But to be able to recognize, hey, these are my limits. And if love as a verb and action is something I'm giving to other people, when was the last time I gave that to myself? And if it's been a minute, then it's time for us to also have the self-accountability to take care of ourselves so we can continue to show up and be who we are and do what we want to do in all our spaces. So another call to action is in being able to slow down, which is something that we're often never actually given. We have to take, just like we have to take up space. How are you taking the actual time to slow down, reflect, think about what you need for you, what does self-love actually mean, and how does that translate to self-care? Because that's how you affirm yourself, and that's how you make your own spaces of belonging. That's how you make sure the right people filter in and the wrong folks can make their way out. Is by being so intentional about how we're showing up first for ourselves. Because I think it was Cameo who was talking about it, but in the idea that what's within my control, right? Like what is within my control? And so as an advocate, I use the locus of control, which pretty much just says, all right, if I can have a conversation with my family, that may be the only space where people are going to listen and where I can make change. When I'm working with educators, it's the fact that they have a whole classroom and the hallway and the cafeteria, right? So wherever you are, you have that direct impact. Claim it, right? Don't wait for someone to ask you to do the right thing and use inclusive language or putting up a flag or sharing your pronouns. Do the thing before you're asked, because I can guarantee that there are queer and trans people in your spaces. We have not seen you show yourself as that safer person to be able to just get to exist. So in connecting many of the different things that we were already talking about, in these calls to action, which is that the flags, right? The flags and the safe stickers are so important for modeling that nonverbal support, that, hey, like, you're welcome here. But also making sure that those flags and those stickers are actually only going up in places that are actually safe. Right? Where's the backing in that action? And also truly thinking about what am I doing in my everyday actions to support the queer and especially the trans people in my life? Am I using that gender neutral inclusive language? Am I asking pronouns? Am I introducing myself with pronouns? And it may feel a little weird because it's not been normalized, right? I will always say my name and pronouns, and I'll invite other people to share too, even when it feels a little weird and even if I've already met that person before. Because I want someone that's walking by that I may never even see to hear me share my pronouns, and then they either feel more included and seen, or they have no idea what I'm talking about, and now they're just thinking a little bit more critically about, well, what does that even mean? And that gets to be exposure for us too. Think about the signage in the spaces that we're in. If there's only binary spaces, especially with restrooms, if you're generally in an inclusive space, talk with the people that are a part of that building and put up signage that says, hey, we may only have binary facilities. You're welcome to use whichever facility most closely aligns with your identity. But only do it in spaces that are genuinely safe. We have to think about the physical spaces that we're navigating and also the mental and emotional spaces that we're a part of. And what's the work that we can do, but where can we enlist those allies and actions so that we're not the only ones doing that work ourselves? And especially when we're thinking about athletics, right? We were talking a little bit about fashion, right? And having the clothes that we like to wear. Gender expression is in our uniforms most often. And that impacts everyone, no matter what your gender identity is. Because if we think about the historic uniforms for women's teams, right, they may be more femme, which is actually just connected to archaic beliefs that are hypersexualizing women's bodies in sports. Never been okay, right? But also, not all women are feminine and want to wear those uniforms. So, what are we doing to actually invite folks to use, hey, we have a gender neutral or a unisex uniform that you're welcome to use, or here's all the uniforms self-select. So think about the ways that our bodies get to show up. What are we doing so we get to just be our authentic selves? Think about the physical spaces we're navigating, and where have trans people not been considered? And then what can you do to make sure that we can show up as the people that we are? It is that daily action. It is that everyday just intention and awareness and being able to say, hey, I'm a part of the communities I'm a part of, and I'm going to actually do something. So, to close out our group today, wanted to, we pretty much said all the amazing things, but if there's one thing that you want folks to hear, that whether it's something that you wish that you had heard, or another call to action that wasn't on the little list that I looked at before this brain, what do you want to see from folks?
Thank you. Call to action. I kind of have a three-part answer. So
Go for it.
I know, I tripled it there. The first part of my answer is I just want to acknowledge and celebrate the space that we're in. We're in a room full of queer folks and allies, organized by so many wonderful people here. Thank you so much. And moderated by a wonderful person. Thank you, Lex. So I think celebrating the spaces that we're in, especially the one today, I'm so happy to be here. And the second part, I really wanted to get a notebook out. I don't have anything with me. But every time Natasha opened her mouth, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta write these things down. So just, I think listening to the folks, listening to the wonderful things. Oh, we have it on video, thank God. I think really just taking in and learning from the folks around us. I never know who I'm gonna meet every single day, and every day it's just such a gift. I think every person that comes across in my life is just like, wow, I was really supposed to meet this person. This is amazing. And so thank you all for being here. And the third part is, I think taking up space is just so important. It's so weird to live in a political climate where our rights are being reduced. And the people that we love, their rights are also being reduced. And I think the more space that we take up, oh God, the less we can, or the more that we can slow that down, slow that process down, because what's happening is happening, and we can fight as much as we can. But if we can just take up as much space and show others that we're still here and we're not going anywhere, then that's the best that we can do. And That's my 3-point answer. Thank you, Lex.
Amazing, amazing. I want to go back to our point of love as an action, and because I want to end on an inspiring note here. I think really focusing on loving yourself. I was thinking in this answer about what I would want to tell my younger self, or someone else who's younger, thinking about that idea of mentorship again. It's really just loving yourself and making sure that you show up for yourself, and part of that is, for example, coming to these events, building these spaces, being around the people who support you and uplift you and inspire you along your journey and along the entire path of your life. I think one thing that I've learned being in medicine so far is not every day is guaranteed, and anything can change in a moment, in an instant. So making sure to be there for yourself every day, for your loved ones, and part of that is just loving yourself and showing up. Thank you guys for being here as well.
I will say that giving people an opportunity to accept you. Don't believe that people won't. And don't close them out. That's what I would tell my young self. I work in a very inclusive company, and there are a lot of times where someone will say, "Oh, are you married?" "Yes." "What's your wife's name?" "Al." And so that then starts a conversation. And when you feel comfortable enough to do that, you know you belong. And so that, and I will share one other quick story. quick story. This one's a firecracker. I will tell you. We're best friends now. So we're like going to go out to dinner tonight. I'm divorcing my husband.
Hey, come on.
So my husband started as he was studying to be a priest many years ago, and so as later on in life he had the opportunity to be an independent Catholic priest. So, and in our space we have many transgender people, and so that is really my first opportunity to not only accept someone, to say, yes, you're welcome, but to really get to know them. And so the Falcons, I will say, Mark and all the people that are related to the LGBTQ plus soccer community, I will say that the Falcons are amazing and they welcome everybody. We have non-binary, we have trans, whatever you identify with as, and we even like straight people, right? So my husband, he's the independent Catholic priest. I never wanted to sleep with a priest, not when I was a kid, not now, but it happened. And I will tell you that the acceptance that we have for that independent Catholic church is amazing, and we're growing because people want to leave the BS from the Roman Catholics and find some spirituality where they belong. So I'll leave you with that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to break my wife's heart later today. You just said Catholic, and I grew up in Catholic school, so I very much resonate with that. And for me, I do still have faith in God. That is what I choose to believe in. When I would read the Bible with my grandma, we always talked about love. And I know we talk about that in so many facets here, but like the book that I read, he was always with the martyrs and the sinners and all those things, and he still chose to love them even still, and treated them no differently. And those were some of the best stories that I felt I took from that. And so when I think about my younger self, I just think that coming up in so many different worlds, right? Like a Catholic Baptist, Philly sports, black women, entrepreneur, so many different touch points. I feel like it's culminated just a different person, right? And so for me, I never really felt like I was in a box. Like I loved the theater kids, I thought they were cool, but all my sports friends were like, "Why are you hanging out with the weirdos?" And then it's just like, I love the nerds because I think they're brilliant. I want to learn all the new stuff, but it was like, but they don't wear anything cool, and I just didn't care, right? But it was also very awkward because it was like I don't really know where I land, and then what I would want to tell my younger self then is like that is the power, right? Of like you don't actually belong in one of those boxes. It's just supposed to be you, right? And so what I would leave to you guys is really just kind of all the things that we've all touched on up here, but really just if you're going to be the light, don't let that darkness come in and take over your life, right? We need more of us to stand in our light, whatever that light looks like. Negativity, we see it every day of every hour of every day, unfortunately. You didn't have to go through social media, but you had your own problems, right? But if we think about the youth that we have, even in my job, we'll have a play, or we'll have a decision, or we'll have a call that's made, and there's 90 comments on how negative it is, but for me in my job, it doesn't necessarily make me not want to do it. I just say, hey, we did our best. Coach Island looked at it one time, and we went back and looked at it. We made the best decision in that scenario, right? And I don't care if the Clemson Tigers win. I don't care, right? I just try to get the play right. And so, I challenge you guys just to continue to try to be a light in such dark times, in such hard times, right? Creating those inclusive places that make you feel like you can be your whole self, welcoming people so that they can be themselves, so that you can create more light for others, and really just hold the line on that, right? Because again, we just don't know how long we have. Someone in medicine just told us that, right? And I'm sure all of us have lost someone, or almost lost someone, or maybe feel like they might lose themselves, right? We don't know what anyone's health information is right now, right? So really just try to be that light. It's so hard to do that, but when you carry yourselves around other lights, we can really burn really, really bright, and continue to do that in the ways that you feel most comfortable.
Thank you, everyone. And I'll close us out with the fact that there's no right or wrong way to exist. Actually, let me say that one again. There's no wrong way to exist, because whichever way you are existing is the right. And so, especially with all the narratives about our identities, and specifically for trans folks, right? There's not one path. You do not have to medicalize your body to be trans. You do not have to exist in any way that is not your own. And as long as you're existing in that way, then you are doing everything right. And so showing that love and that care, and also everyone making, how have you told a trans person or your trans community that you love them lately? Think about it. There are so many ways, social media, right? You can do anything. Thank you, yes. Tell me that you love me. I love it. Thank you. I'll take it. I'll take it. But really, tell trans people that you love them and you see them, and that, of course, we're not going anywhere. Help us to feel like we're not going to go anywhere. So show that love and show that care. And in closing, thank you to all of our amazing panelists. It was so, yes, get some claps out here. So amazing having you all here. This is the first of a 3-part series of events that we are doing. Our next one is a resource fair and celebration at Cherry Street Pier on May 31st. And then the next one is that I'm going to be doing an educational workshop on July 19th before the final FIFA game. And so details for, is it up? All right, something's happening behind me. Amazing. The details are going to be posted. It's so important that this is just the start, or that launch into the conversations that we're having. And so please make sure we're continuing to have these conversations, and also on that note of joy, right? Like, this is also a community event, so we'll be hanging out here afterwards just to get to be in community with one another. And so I shall close before giving this over to Jen in saying that, and I always forget to start with this, that the other aspects of my experience that have led me to being in this space are that I coach high school sports. And it's so important for me that my kids feel loved and that they get to have that space. I also get to exist in medicine, where I do gender-affirming surgery satisfaction research, and was published for the first time in the Journal of Critical Public Health. Oh yeah, and shocking to, I'd imagine none of us, gender-affirming surgery saves lives. It is so important that we recognize that being able to access things we need for our bodies should be our choice, but in the process of actually getting surgery, that's where there's challenges. So I challenge y'all to look into this research, to continue having these conversations, seek out these community spaces where we get to celebrate and be here together and share our stories, and just get to have a good time. So thank you everyone for being here with us today.
Just real quick, there's nothing else I can add to that. I just want to thank the other half for allowing us to be here today.
Thank you.
They have been such incredible partners to us, and we cannot thank them enough. And again, thank you guys all for coming. See you at the next one.
Hey.
You did it, fam. Let's go.
Come on, you're filled with gems.
Likewise, we did it.
Gems.
We're gonna have Mark from the Falcons speak real fast.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi everyone, thank you to our panelists for today.